And welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Liz, all the way from California, good morning to you. And I hope your husband can't hear me talking this loud right now. He's probably like, honey, get out of here. Get out of here. Do this call somewhere else.
I have my headphones in, and he hasn't had his coffee yet, so we're good.
All right. I know you got a wake-up call with him at 5:30, so we're going to get going here. Hey, before we do that, October will mark your second year anniversary at Truckers Against Trafficking. Hey, congratulations on that. And then tell us again, especially for those that may be new to our show, hey, why Truckers Against Trafficking for you?
You know what? They do a fantastic job of bringing the issue to trafficking to so many industries and people that I never would have been exposed to otherwise. And I love that I work in a job that makes a difference, just like you do.
Gotcha. Like that. Liz, yesterday we were talking before the show, and you did a little bit of painting yesterday, I heard. You're an artiste now, and talk to me about that side. First of all, what are you going out there painting?
You know what? I had a great time with a girlfriend. We went out and we did a step-by-step class, and it was a painting of two dragonflies in the moonlight and just something different.
Two dragonflies. I like that. It's probably deep, and I've never been one to really go out there and understand paintings, but I get it, right? I mean, you know, it's supposed to. Did it release any stress from you?
You know what? It did, and it was really nice to see a girlfriend.
Well, that's always good, and hopefully, I'm sure, you know, a lot of those places you get a little glass of wine with you as you paint probably helps the that productivity or that creativity. Hey, but there's a painting also that I have right here. I'm reading about this that you're a big fan of. Hey, tell us about the painting that we're talking about here.
Oh, sure. So I painted this painting. It was a self-portrait that I felt like this is what I felt like when I was being trafficked. And recently in Indiana, one of the organizations there decided to feature it on their website, and I got to share what the journey of healing from trafficking really looks like.
Hey, Boyd, go back and show that again as we continue to talk through this right here. And Liz, as we show this painting again, hey,
it's actually on my wall behind me in my office.
Gotcha. I want to see this as you talk to me about this. Hey, I'm going to look at this, and I want you to talk to me through what you're feeling in this painting.
You know what? When I was trafficked, I felt so alone, but so exposed. When you see, you know, the representation of fire behind this image, I felt like my whole soul was on fire, but no one saw it. And I was waiting for someone to come interrupt my story. You know, when you look at this person's gaze on the painting, it really is soul searing because I wanted someone to see me. I named this image Scarlet.
Gotcha. Wow. And you know what? And all that you're saying, I was just looking at that while you're explaining that, and I can see all that. I mean, I can see in that picture right there. Well, I can just see somebody. I see you, right, hurting. You know, you're there holding yourself. You're alone. You're in that almost in that fetal position. You're just like looking out your days, and that look that you're saying too. I also look at that from my eyes. I'm just looking. It's a look of confusion. You know, like, what's going on? Is this ever going to end? Can somebody help me? Do you not see me? And Liz, when you felt like that, I mean, you had to gaze into the eyes of somebody, and they had to look back at you, know that, man, this woman here, this girl, she's hurting. And did you see those looks? And maybe people just didn't know what to do on the other side.
You know what? Honestly, I think that there are good people out there, and just like you're saying, they just didn't know what to do. I believe that human kindness goes such a far way, and we've gotten away from that a bit. And so instead of thinking, oh, well, if I give someone $5, are they going to use it for the wrong purpose? No, give the $5 willingly and gladly. and you don't know what that kind word, what that gesture means to the other person. One of the best things I can tell people is if you see one of our unhoused, homeless, individuals in communities, ask them their name. You don't know the last time that they've been given that dignity, because in reality, they feel invisible.
Last month, and it was just about a month ago now, we had that, maybe a little bit more than a month, we had that horrific, trafficking that, in San Antonio, where we found 52, I believe, people dead in the back of a trailer. But when you hear that story, right, when you saw that on the news, man, what went through your mind?
Greed. Honestly, that someone would use a human being as an object to get from point A to point B, to smuggle them. I can't imagine the terror and the pain that those individuals went through. And I don't want it to be just another blasé event where someone thinks, oh, it happened again. Oh, well, glad it didn't happen to me. How do we take responsibility for fellow human beings around us? I'm so grateful that a few did survive. Can you imagine the pain that they went through?
Yeah, you know what? I can't. And I remember, so I went back and I read some stories, and I watched it on Univision, as well, as they were talking to one of the ladies that was sitting in the back. She got in that trailer and she sat towards the I guess where the doors are, because she saw there was nowhere to breathe there. Her and I think her sister, and they did what they could, and their bodies were hurting from thirst. Their bodies were hurting from lack of air. When, even though those that lived through this, to touch them, it was warm to the touch. I mean, you felt that in them when you touched them. They were hot. Their bodies, not fever, they were hot. Like, they're gonna die hot, like most of those others. I can't imagine, what was going through their mind. I mean, Liz, when you're doing that, I mean, when you're going through that, I mean, you tell me. I mean, what goes through your mind about your family, about your friends, about will you ever see anybody again? Is life over today? Is it tomorrow? What goes through your mind?
I think it's all of those thoughts. I wasn't smuggled. I didn't have any of those experiences. But I will say, when you're trafficked, when you're sold, I felt like less than human. I felt like the dirt on somebody's shoe, where someone could do something to me and my body just felt like a junkyard, like a dump yard, where that's what I was good for. And I'm trying to be polite about that, but literally that's how low I felt. And I'm so grateful now to remember how bad that felt, and know that I feel completely opposite now, that I'm victorious in my life, that things are really, really good. But may I never forget that despair.
Yeah, and one of the things you do by doing this is telling your story, is telling us, people like myself, about what you went through, because it's important that number one, that I make a difference when I can, that I do something when I see something. And we use BCB Live to get that story out to others as well. Liz, talk to me and talk to those out here as well. How did you get out of this? I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
I can. You know what? One day you wake up and you realize, this isn't what I want for my life. This isn't going anywhere. And I was mad that I was still alive, personally. And I knew that I needed to leave. I knew that I could never go back to my mom, because my mom was my first trafficker. I don't have a safety net. I don't have someone to depend on. So I knew that I was leaving without shoes on in the middle of the night. I ended up at a homeless shelter, and I just put my life back together piece by piece. I don't recommend it for anyone, because it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But all I could think was, if all my life is supposed to be is me being sold, then I don't want any part of that. But I'm going to try and make a different life for myself.
Yes, and when we hear this thing, and God, I mean, that's something you absolutely should never have to go through on your own. And again, when we talk about truckers against trafficking, we're going to move into that a little bit. Liz, do we, on the trucking side, can we really make a difference, or is this just a cause that's really doesn't stand that chance of being very effective?
You know what? We can absolutely make a difference. When you and I just get in the car to leave our house, we see people. Multiply that by being on the road, by being in a professional truck, you're going to see a lot of people and you're going to see a lot of things. You may be more observant and aware than I would be because, I haven't been trained in that way. And if the only thing you do is report what you see because it just doesn't settle right, that's a victory, because you don't know how long the person in whatever situation or experience, you don't know how long they felt invisible. So how do we change that dynamic?
And I think about some of the things, there's those truck stops, there's those truck stops that we know that we shouldn't go to because of high theft, because of maybe trafficking, because of drugs, because of, prostitution, all of that goes along with certain truck stops. It makes me angry that they're allowed to stay open. It makes me angry that we can put a thing out into in the trucking community that says stay away from these places. And I'm just like, well, if we know they exist, how do we not do anything? How do we, how do we let them continue to operate in those places? What do you think about when you hear, and you probably see it, certain truck stops that we're not supposed to go to? Whether it's theft or it's on this trafficking side, does that it makes me angry.
It should make you angry, but that's also where it calls you to action. This is the place that we need to put posters up about trafficking. This is where we need desperately to train employees to watch that half-hour video, to know what they're looking at. Instead of shame and judgment for someone experiencing prostitution, let's dig deeper. No one wakes up and thinks, I want to be a prostitute. No, what got them to that point? And we don't know if they're being forced. So how do we treat everyone with compassion? What do we do to make that truck stop that no one wanted to go to? Because there are amazing truck stops. We can't pick on a piece of the industry without realizing that we have the power to change it. And I know that I love our truck stop partners with Truckers Against Trafficking, because the owners have stepped up and said, this is so important to us. We will train every employee. So that's really what we have. There's going to be a few bad apples here and there, but even those bad apples, what if we decide to change it?
Great point on that. Love your attitude on that. You brought up missing, let's go into missing persons for a second. The flyers that we see, and we see them still on TV. Do those help? Do they make a difference, those missing person flyers? And if so, what do we also need to do to maybe make them more effective?
You know what? I think they help. I think that more visibility is better than less. If someone came up to me, and I know that if you looked on my LinkedIn, I have a missing persons poster from Pennsylvania right now. I don't live there, but if I can do my part, because I've read reports about the 6 or 7 degrees of separation, that we're all actually connected in some way, then a poster is not too big of a deal. It's just something very simple where it feels honoring to the family and to the people experiencing that loss of that missing person. To me, it's a no-brainer. Of course I'd put it up. And, maybe I don't see that person, that individual that's missing, but I'm going to be more cognizant of the people in my community and what stands out to me. Who needs my help? How can I be of service?
Liz, do me a favor. Talk to me a little bit about that Freedom Drivers Project. And then I also want you to tie in that Truckers Against Trafficking, that new mobile app that's out there as well.
Sure thing. So our Freedom Drivers Project is a 48-foot trailer that you can walk through. It's basically a mobile museum that has artifacts from survivors that talk about the different factors of how did this person get into the situation and what can you do about it. I have watched grown men cry when they walk through our Freedom Drivers Project and have them say, I didn't realize all the factors that went into this and that I can make a difference. So I love it. And, you know, I know that all of us, my cell phone is sitting right here. If we can all download the Truckers Against Trafficking app, we can be trained about human trafficking, know how to report it, and tell somebody else about it. If you use the ELD app, we also have one for that as well, because I know that some companies are concerned with data and things like that. Well, we have all our training videos and you don't have to worry about that. And the other thing that I like about the power of the cell phone, please program the National Human Trafficking Hotline number into your phone or your local 911 into your phone, because if you do see something, you're more apt to say something if it's easier for you to be able to report.
Great information. You know what? Knowledge is power, is powerful. Liz, also, you talked about this. You said the word a few times, and I'm a big believer in this, is that, you know what? At the end of the day, we're called to love one another, and it's not that hard to love somebody. And love means that when you see somebody that needs your help, as you said earlier, that you help them. It's not our concern today really to judge them, wonder what they're going to do. What is she doing? What's he doing? Any of that. Our job, what we're called to do, is to actually go out there and help. And when we talk about Truckers Against Trafficking, let me tell you something. That phone call is major. That phone call may be the difference in saving somebody's life, getting them out of the situation they're in right now. It is powerful. I want to encourage each and every one of you, go to Truckers Against Trafficking, get TAT certified. Liz, how do they get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? And I need you to also, maybe do a little closing on Truckers Against Trafficking, anything you want to say. And when you finish it, you know the rules. You've got to say your name, and you've been watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
You got it. So I encourage everyone to go on our website, truckersagainsttrafficking.org. Not only do we train the trucking industry, we have oil industry, natural gas. We have our busing industry. We have an avenue for everyone to be able to get involved, and all of our materials are free. If you want to put a decal on your truck, we can help you with that. If you want to hand out wallet cards, we have them free of charge that have human trafficking, what to look for, suspicious signs, activity, and more importantly, what to do about it. And I am excited that you want to get involved. That's what I truly believe. When you're going to watch this broadcast, you're thinking, of course, it's a no-brainer. I want to be involved. And my name is Liz Williamson. I'm with Truckers Against Trafficking. I'm a survivor of sex trafficking, and I'm on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. All
right, Liz, I appreciate that. And you know what? Hearing you say that, I'll be honest with you, it makes me tear up to hear you say that. It's just, man, what a shame that you had to go through that others are going through that right now. And let me tell you something, America, we do have that ability. Let me tell you something, trucking community. We have the ability to change somebody's life. Make that change. It requires action, requires a phone call. Liz, thank you so much for all that you do, for sharing your story, and for being as brave as you are.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. That was Liz with Truckers Against Trafficking. We have so much more coming up on the show, including none other than he's back from his hiatus, going out trying to find cooler weather. He got some back. He's got it in his pocket, and he's coming up next. Double Check Dale on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.